This is Richard Flax at MoneyFarm, talking about some of the things that have caught our attention over the past day or so. A couple of things to talk about. Firstly, in China, there was news that a potential treatment for the virus that was being tested had come back with relatively disappointing results. The drug did not work, at least in this trial, as well as had been hoped. The news in fairness was leaked, and the company subsequently came out and said it wasn't a completely fair reflection of the trial, but nonetheless it was something that financial markets paid attention to and took relatively negatively. On a slightly different note, there was a report in the US indicating that over 20% of people who had been tested in New York were found to have antibodies in their systems, and that was something that was a little bit more positive, that people thought that it might suggest that the infection was a little bit broader than had been previously thought, and that perhaps by extension the fatality rate was a little bit lower. The point about these two things, aside from providing some incremental news that over time may or may not be relevant, is really that to say that the focus of attention, we think, for financial markets is much more on the healthcare side of news flow in terms of incremental news about infections and potential treatments than it is about macroeconomic data. The macroeconomic data over the last couple of days has been very poor, suggesting that economies in the US and Europe are to a large extent shut down. But that should be relatively well known at this point. And we think that what matters more for financial markets are incremental news that would allow governments to reopen these economies relatively safely and minimize the risk of a renewed spike in infections or further disruption. Elsewhere, issues in the Eurozone continue. The Eurogroup met yesterday briefly by video conference, and the indications are that even though they didn't come to a very firm agreement, we will continue to see further steps towards a larger aid package in the Eurozone than we've seen up until this point. The questions of how it'll be funded, will it be joint and several bond issuance? We think not so far. Those are all issues that still need to be resolved. But in general, the support, particularly from Germany, seems to be in favor of a larger financial package and more flexibility than might have been the case a few weeks ago. So from that perspective, we think that's incrementally positive news from the Eurozone. Even if we didn't get a definitive agreement yesterday, we think that we will get signs of further progress over the next few days. And it's a sign that, obviously that the situation in the Eurozone is very challenging, but that governments are taking increasingly active steps to try and combat that. Thank you for joining us, and look forward to speaking to you again soon.